We're in the George St-Pierre, Thiago Alves fight. I can't even say his name, Thiago. I'll just call him Thiago, right? So this is the end of the first round, and George St-Pierre is going to make sure he gets his points by getting Thiago down to the ground. George St-Pierre is a different kind of wrestler than I'm used to. He does things slightly differently. He's brilliant because he does slightly different things. So we're going to talk through this chain of takedowns. What he's been doing, he's been throwing combinations every time Thiago throws a shot at him. So in response to anything, there's been shots coming back. So in response, Thiago's been throwing his hands up to cover his head like you would. So what we're going to see is George St-Pierre draw a jab. Now, as he draws the jab, he's going to catch and parry. I'm not supposed to use too much technical language. He's going to push that hand across with his right hand. And if you notice what he's doing with his left foot, he's going to step with his left foot. He's going to change his level, so he's going down the way. And he's stepping in with his foot into this zone here. He's then going to shoot, but he is going to shoot in a slightly different way. He's not going to blast double through Thiago. He's just going to make an attachment. So he's going to gather the near leg with a very deep hook around the knee. I mean, his elbow really is on the back of this knee. This hand is going to go around the hip, and he's really aiming first to cut this knee through. So his first attack, his first part of the chain is to get that knee and to cut it through. But Thiago manages to defend that by taking his foot against George St-Pierre and putting some pressure down on his head. So really what George St-Pierre wanted to do at this point was get that leg to flare out over here, which meant that this balance point would have come down into this point over here. He's managed to stop it. He's done a really good job. George, in response, has, instead of driving continuously through Thiago, what he's done is he's stepped up this leg underneath the knee and underneath his body. This is going to be the drive for the power that he's going to drive Thiago back with now. So he's going to explode into Thiago, and what he's hopefully going to do is he's going to lift Thiago by standing up, and he's going to power him in this direction. And what he's hoping is that Thiago will not be able to get his leg back over here quick enough to stop him. Now Thiago must jump. He must hop about 4 or 5 feet to respond to this and defend it, which is absolutely brilliant. So we're going to see this power being blasted from here and going up in this direction. He's got hold of this leg, but because he's got hold of the hip and not the back of the knee, Thiago can still move that leg. So we're going to see George drive him and explode off this leg and drive him forward. All right. At this point, Thiago now, he's already got a framing on the neck of George St-Pierre, and he's pushing the head downwards. He's trying to rubber leg his leg out of here. I believe the Americans call it limp leg. So he's trying to get his leg nice and straight, and he wants to push away and turn his hips and run away. He can't really do that. George has brought this foot up to the side now, and what he's going to do is he's going to, now I call it steering wheeling. I can't think of anything less technical to call it. He's going to drive this elbow down and up here. He's going to drive his head down towards the ground, fold at the hips, as though he's doing like a piped single leg. And he's going to push the hip over in this direction, which really should off-balance Thiago so that his hip falls on the floor. So what we're going to see is we're going to see him do that. Yeah, we can see him try and turn that leg in and down, driving his elbow down, and trying to use the hip to drive Thiago across here. Now, this is where George St-Pierre does something different than a lot of other wrestlers, especially someone like Khabib. Khabib would just run Thiago into the cage and just deal with him on the cage and take him down. I think the TriStar gym kind of wants not to put people on the cage. I think they believe that the cage really helps people stand up. So we're going to see George St-Pierre, as he rips this leg and as he pushes this hip, he's going to turn, he's going to spin around and drive Thiago in this direction. He wants Thiago to fall over here. He doesn't want Thiago to fall over near the fence. He really wants Thiago to fall down over here. So he's going to rotate. That'll help push Thiago over in this direction as well. But it's slightly a different technique than we see by most wrestlers. So he's going to kind of run around the body. He's pulling down on that knee. Thiago's pushing that frame, which is holding him up. And he manages to hop around. So we've seen George St-Pierre now turn Thiago away from the cage. Thiago's got the frame there, and we're seeing that we've got George St-Pierre now knowing that if he does blast double leg Thiago, that Thiago's going to land here. So we're going to see the next move from St-Pierre. What he's going to do now, he's going to step his body across the front of Thiago. He's going to slide this hand down to the back of this knee, and he's going to lift this elbow up out here, controlling the knee, and he's going to swing those legs in this direction while he moves in this direction. So the legs are going this way, he's going in this direction. So we'll see his left leg step across the body, and we'll see him drive, come down to the knee. You can see him stepping across the body there. He drives with his ear, he pulls the legs across his body. Now, in most cases with this double leg, he would have had his hand behind the knee. I suppose the way I teach it, and traditionally, he would have had his hand behind the knee, and he would have been able to flare this knee up higher. But you can't really flare that knee very high because of the length of the lever. But with the knee cut, and with him running past, he takes Thiago down. Basically what he's doing is he's stopping Thiago being able to hop this foot in this direction. Thiago has got very good defence, so normally Thiago would just bounce his foot out here. He's not really cutting this knee out, he's just stopping Thiago being able to hop. And as he can't hop, he then is driven over to the ground. It's a beautiful takedown. But even in the air, we can see Thiago is already stuffing St-Pierre's head away from him as he reaches for a post. He's not going to go flat on his back. He goes down to his elbow because that was quite a big fall. And we're seeing Thiago stuff George St-Pierre away. Notice how the straight arm has now been driven into the folded elbow. This forearm is going to act as like a boundary frame. And the more that George St-Pierre drives into it, the more he's going to drive Thiago to the cage. And we're going to effectively see that happen. Yeah. Thiago goes onto his straight hand, or he puts his hand on the back of George St-Pierre's head, and he's going to use that to get up. He's fishing for his underhook. He really wants to get his underhook in here. Okay, let's go back a little bit because I've missed a bit with George. Come on, George, go backwards. So we're seeing George has had to relinquish his control of that knee because Thiago has also managed to drag his legs a little bit out of this grip. See how he's pushed there and he's turned onto his hip and he's dragging his legs out. He's keeping his legs and knees close together so that he can slide them out. So George is having to follow him to the cage, and he goes down to actually controlling an ankle slightly of Thiago. I mean, in some cases we would have just stood up, lifted this leg above his head to stop him scrambling. But I think he thinks that Thiago's going to get his back to the cage anyway, which would make life a bit more difficult. Thiago's doing a great stuff. He's going to get his back flat to the cage. He's going to try and turn and limp leg this out. This knee's going to try and come out here, and he's going to try and turn his hip so that his hips are face away from George St-Pierre, and he can get a straight hand on the back of the head so that he can drag this leg out. It doesn't work. George is already reaching for his hip. He's already got his head tight against the hip of Thiago, and George is going to get his hands together. And as he gets his hands together, he's now controlling underneath the buttocks. I love the word buttocks. Underneath the buttocks of Thiago. Thiago's really aiming to get this underhook in because he'll need to lift this up his body if he doesn't expect to be taken to the ground. George is going to gather his base underneath himself, and we're going to see Thiago get the underhook in. He's going to now stand because he thinks he can use his underhook to lift George St-Pierre, but George isn't doing the normal thing. George isn't stuffing Thiago against the cage. We're going to see George step around and put his foot into the control zone in here. That means he gets his hips under the centre of gravity of Thiago. So he's going to step around with his left leg, go into the control zone. He's not really deep in the control zone, because what he's going to do, he's going to drag Thiago in this direction to load up his hips. So he's going to load up Thiago's hips. And as he loads up the hips, he's actually going to turn Thiago off the cage so that he can dump him to the ground. Notice how he gets a little bit of body torsion. He uses his grip underneath the buttocks to swing those legs out and put Thiago on the ground. Notice with shoulder placement when he hits the ground, his shoulder placement is right in the breadbasket so that he can force Thiago flat. Thiago's really fighting for it. He's already got a semi-frame in there. George comes around the head to control and drive that shoulder flat. Absolutely beautiful takedown by George St-Pierre. Let's see it in real time. See it in real time. Punch. Beautiful sequence of chaining there. And then we see the final takedown. George St-Pierre does things slightly different than other people. He's trying to not put his opponents back on the cage. He's trying to keep them away from the cage so they can't use that cage as a tool to get up. Again, it's a really good way of doing things. Notice he's not running through people. He's actually chaining techniques together. He's not just blasting through people. It's fantastic technique. If you can do it, good luck.